Miragrid, a company with the goal of providing quality engineered products designed to keep man and nature in harmony. The Federal Highway Administration committed to build a scenic parkway through the environmentally sensitive Nantahala National Forest. The parkway would meander from Robbinsville, North Carolina to Tellico Plains, Tennessee. In what has become a 30-year-long project, close scrutiny of its environmental impact has caused every construction decision to be made with much thought and deliberation. It was in this climate that Miragrid, a high-strength polyester geogrid, was selected as the best product to reinforce retaining walls along the scenic parkway. The retaining walls are being built with gabion basket facings. These wire baskets are filled with rock and connected with Miragrid products 5T and 15T. Here is one of a series of such retaining walls. It's 400 feet long and 24 feet high. This wall serves as a foundation for the scenic parkway, which is being built higher up the mountain. It also provides an isolation storage area for acidic rock, which otherwise would create runoff that would be harmful to the ecosystem below.
The face of the wall, the gabion baskets, is just a facing. It has no structural value whatsoever. If the facing fell off, the rest of the dirt with the grids would still be standing.
The high, damp mountain terrain posed a variety of problems for contractors, but they found the Miragrid easy to work with.
There ain't anything hard about working with the grid. You know, I've used some before, on a wall for TVA, and it's easier than the place. The grid's a little stiffer. It's a lot narrower rolls, a little more aggravating.
At Atlanta's busy Hartsfield International Airport, an 800-foot-long, 40-foot-high slope was constructed to widen and extend an aircraft holding pad adjacent to one of the airport's main runways. The FAA required the airport authority to widen the holding pad to accommodate large aircraft. This mandate was complicated by the fact that a major Delta Airlines maintenance hangar is located just below the runway. It was necessary to create a steeper slope to maximize usable space for both the holding pad and the maintenance facility. The contractor, with approval of the airport authority and the FAA, selected Miragrid geogrids to reinforce the new one-to-one slope. Since the surface of the Miragrid reinforced slope will be subjected to jet engine blasts, an armor-form facing was added. These concrete-filled fabric forms, manufactured by the Nicolon Corporation, provide an erosion-resistant facing. The armor form is held in place by gravity and is tucked in vertically every 20 feet.
The grid is basically like steel reinforcement in concrete, provides tensile reinforcement to a material that normally doesn't have a lot of tensile strength. The geogrid and the soil the same function. It provides tensile reinforcement to the soil to allow the soil to be constructed on a steeper angle than it would normally be able to be constructed on.
The Atlanta contractors who installed the Miragrid have high praise for the product.
I like the flexibility of this fabric, this material here, opposed to the other that I've used in the past, because it's just a lot easier to work with.
They found it easy to work with and learned it would save them money over the cost of installing the old-fashioned polyethylene grids.
Basically, it's probably about half the labor. Due to the fact once you roll the grid out or the polyethylene grid, you're actually having to have something or have another man hold it down in place prior to backfilling, where this one lays right over any type of, if there's any type of ridge or a void in the ground, it's going to lay within it or bridge over it. But there's no movement once it's placed.
Only the safety is a big factor too, because working with this grid opposed to the other grid, you have to wear gloves. You have to, use special tools to cut the material, where using this material here, you just need a razor knife and, don't even need gloves because it's so flexible and it doesn't, harm the hands in any way.
In 1991, Miragrid became the reinforcement of preference at a major ocean-bound shipping terminal. State Pier 41 at Wando Terminal is a part of the South Carolina Ports Authority, just outside Charleston on the Wando River. An 1,800-foot-long retaining wall is being built to maximize space available for container storage facing a large stormwater detention pond. The Charleston area has been battered by major hurricanes and is considered a seismically active region. Design and construction must meet the stringent requirements of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
This is the first wall that we know of anywhere in the United States that's been built for this application by any ports authority. This wall is being built with some extremely high tolerances and some very high factors of safety. The wall was designed with a 1,000 pound per square foot surcharge, and it's also designed with a seismic factor of safety, which is very unusual.
Miragrid is being installed to reinforce the soil and to hold the 18-foot high retaining wall where cargo container trucks will be staged for ship loading and unloading.
We're just basically putting this 1,800-foot retention wall up in order for them to put concrete pavement directly to the wall where they'll have as much area they can use without having to slope it back. And the retention wall was there basically to save area of land where they could have more parking with their trucks.
The Ports Authority and the Corps of Engineers considered several wall designs in addition to the Miragrid reinforced wall. The Miragrid system was the most cost-effective option, saving the Ports Authority over $385,000.
It's saving people money, and it looks like it's something that maybe the Highway Department as well as state ports will use in the future.
On a very steep slope within 200 yards of the San Andreas Fault, the city and county of San Francisco built a massive 8 million gallon public water reservoir. Miragrid 10T was pressed into service to hold the 200-foot diameter reservoir in place in an area perhaps best known for its seismic volatility. This 78-foot high slope transitions from a steepness of 1 to 1 at the bottom to a maximum steepness of 3/4 to 1. The Miragrid reinforcement is placed every 2 feet up the slope and is embedded 30 feet into the soil. It's designed to reinforce the slope and to provide passive lateral resistance to the concrete reservoir during earthquakes. Miragrid 10T also is being used on the same hillside to reinforce soil supporting an electrical utility pad. Together, the slopes surrounding the reservoir and the utility pad contain nearly 50,000 square yards of Miragrid 10T and stand ready to resist the forces of nature when the next earthquake occurs. Meanwhile, across the continent, landfill sites have become so controversial and so difficult to get approved that local governments are looking for alternate ways to deal with their garbage. Edgeboro, New Jersey is trying a solution that many communities will find attractive: a piggyback landfill. A piggyback landfill is where a new garbage cell sits atop of an existing landfill. In order to prevent the new cell from collapsing into the old cell, a double layer of Miragrid 7T will support the new piggyback landfill. Miragrid has very high strength and low strain under load. The grid easily takes up the strain created by the new landfill's weight. The Miragrid will ensure the integrity of a leachate collection and containment system. 2 impermeable liners and a geonet will rest on top of double layers of grid to ensure that liquids are controlled and that there are no leaks into the environment.
One advantage of Miragrid over the old-fashioned polyethylene grids is the width of the rolls. Our rolls are 13 feet 4 inches wide. The old first-generation grids are only about 4 foot wide. We cover an area equal to about 12 of their rolls with one of ours.
The physical properties of the Miragrid product line are well documented, with nearly a decade of online use and testing performed by independent labs.
Mirify has conducted an enormous amount of testing on these products, long-term creep tests to measure how much the product will stretch under strain. Those tests go on for 10,000 hours, and some of them are continuing on beyond that on each of the products, just to see what happens to them long-term.
Miragrid products have been shown to consistently meet and exceed industry standards, as well as standards set by federal and state agencies. Miragrid has a proven track record for performance in retaining wall, steep slope, landfill base reinforcement, embankment over soft soil, and other soil reinforcement applications. So whatever your soil reinforcement needs, From an Atlantic Ocean terminal to the San Andreas Fault, from a scenic mountain parkway to a somewhat less than scenic mountain of garbage, Miragrid is the logical choice. Miragrid is engineered to protect the environment, to minimize installation time, and ultimately to provide a cost-effective solution to engineering problems. But most important of all, Miragrid is engineered to endure.